What's happening YouTube? Welcome back to a brand new video. Now I'm excited about today's video and you're going to see why. But before we get into it, I want to tell you a little story. So on Sunday I had a trip over to my dad's in the afternoon, and while I was there he made me a cup of coffee. And we sat down in his living room and we put the world to right for a couple of hours, and then I jumped in my car and I began to make my way home. Now while I was driving home I heard a bit of a strange clunking and a banging coming from the car, so I pulled over to have a quick look round to see if I could see anything obvious. And when I got to the rear of the car I noticed this. So if you look at the tailpipes you can see that the passenger side, this side, has obviously dropped and the back box is sat crooked. So I had a look underneath and noticed that this hanger had snapped free. As you can see, it's no longer attached. Now, as annoying as this may be, I wasn't actually as annoyed as you think, and you're about to see why. So the reason I wasn't annoyed is because in the garage I have got a full 3-inch Milltek turbo back system. We have got a 3-inch downpipe, a 200 cell sports cat, and the Milltek ultimate back box system with polished tips. Now this system's been sat in my garage for about 2 weeks, if not a little bit longer. So maybe this is the car's way of telling me that it's had enough to get this exhaust system on the car. Now as you saw from me lifting the bonnet up, I've not picked the best weather to do this, but I need to get this exhaust on the car because I need this car because it is my daily drive. What I've already done is, as you can see, I've took the windscreen wipers off, I've took the scuttle panels off, I've moved the turbo crossover out the way, and as you can see down here, I've also removed the turbo heat shield. Now I actually did all that on Monday, today being Wednesday, and the reason I did that on Monday is because I've car shared with my wife to get to work and back because we work at the same place, and I've WD-40'd the hell out of all the nuts and bolts I'm going to have to do because I've heard some really horror stories trying to get these downpipe bolts out of the turbo. But let me show you what I found. So this is our turbo and this side here is our downpipe. Now there is a bolt, you can just about see it here where my finger is. There should be one here and there's one underneath. So this one was already missing when I removed the heat shield. That could mean a couple of different things. It could be good news, it could be bad news. Let's start with the bad news. The bad news could be that somebody has already tried to remove this downpipe in its previous ownership and that bolt has snapped and is stuck in the turbo. The good news is that it's not snapped in the turbo, the downpipe has been off before. That means the bolts will be loose. Now I know what you're thinking, well why have you not checked if there's not snaps? Well, because I didn't have any bolts to put in, but yesterday my new Milltek locking bolts have turned up, so our first job for today is going to be checking if we can get a bolt in that part of the downpipe. Fingers crossed. Here goes nothing. Oh, it's going in. Yes, success. So I've got one of our new bolts and it's gone all the way in, which means that I believe this downpipe has been off before. So hopefully the other two bolts, if they've been out before and been put back in, it should be quite easy for us to get out. We get the jack out, let's do this. Switching up on the GoPro. So as we're here, the first one I'm going to get out is this one because this, as I said, this bolt's missing. So moment of truth. Hold the camera and get the bolt off, but I've cracked it off. It seems to be coming, so I'm just going to use the ratchet to try and get it off the rest of the way. Fingers crossed for me. I'm dreading these bolts. I can't even get the ratchet on. It's coming. Oh. Boom. That's the first one out. So you can just see there right in the centre of the screen, that is our second bolt. That's the last bolt. Oh, he's only gone and done it. The downpipe is free. Oh my God. Remove the downpipe. Yes! So we've done it. We've got them 2 bolts off. There was one missing, but we're not worried about that because we know we can get the next locking bolt in. The downpipe's free. The downpipe's off the car. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to unplug the lambda sensors and get this system off the car. I can't believe that them bolts have come out. Right, next problem. So this is the cat. I was going to disconnect the back section here from the back of the cat, and then I could remove the cat and the downpipe together and then remove the rear section, but as you can see, look at the state of them bolts. I've tried to put sockets on, I've tried the impact gun, I've tried the brake bar, they're just slipping. So I think it's going to be a case of that we cut the back section off because we've got a full system. I know it's not the nicest way to do the job and I'd like to do it properly, but we've got a full system. This system's never going to go back on the car. So firstly, them bolts are too far gone for me to undo, and secondly, even if I got them undone, I'm still not going to be able to remove the exhaust system because, as you can see here, this is the centre silo section and it goes over the subframe there and into the back box. But even if I got them bolts undone, this silencer is not going to go over that subframe. So unless you take the subframe down, the only way to get this exhaust off is to cut it here, and I ain't taking no subframe off. So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to cut through the exhaust so we can get the back section off. So this is my grinder here. Now before you say it, yes, I know this grinder is too big for this job, but it saves me going out buying one, borrowing this off a family member, so I'm going to have to be extra careful because I've got I think it's a 12-inch grinder rather than, I think it's a 9-inch, a small one, which would have been ideal. But I'm going to cut through this section here. I'm hoping that I'll have enough space around so that I don't cut through any part of the car that I don't want to. Obviously I'm going to have to be extra careful, but kind of needs must at this point. I want to get this exhaust off and get this new one on today because I haven't got any more time of work to do it, so let's get to it. I was grinding through the exhaust pipe. I got about 3/4 of the way through. Didn't want to go any further because I had a big grinding disc. I don't want to clip any part of the car. So I stopped and then thought I'll disconnect the back box and use that as a lever to finish it off and kind of snap it. What happened was that pipe snaps at the back box. If I'd have took the back box off first, I wouldn't even have to grind it because now I've got to take the whole centre section out. Ah! Update time. Here we go. Where are we up to? Well, exhaust off. I've got the exhaust on the floor in front of me. Here we go. Downpipe, cat, big section. That's where I cut it with a grinder to try and get it off. You see I bend it round and I've slid it off and the back box is there. The good news is the exhaust is off the car. Second bit of good news, I've got one of the lambda sensors off. So this is the lambda sensor that sits in the downpipe. And I managed to get that one off and it threads nicely into our new downpipe. Bad news. The bad news then is I really can't get this lambda sensor off. It seems to, I've soaked it in WD-40. You can see this little recess. I can't actually get the adjustable. I can get the adjustable on, but you can see it doesn't fit nicely. So as I knock it, I'm just rounding the bolt off. What other plan? I can't get that lambda sensor off. So what I'm going to do is GSF car parts. Just around the corner from my, well I say just not too far from my house, I've got a lambda sensor in stock, and with a discount code that they've got live on the website, it's not going to be that expensive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the new system on the car, and then hopefully my wife will be home from work and we can go down and pick the new lambda sensor up. So let's get this system on. Come on. Right, so good morning again. Good morning YouTube. So this is not the same video. It is the same video, it's not the same day. Today is Friday, so I started this job on Wednesday. Today's Friday. I just had enough Wednesday. I was so cold, my fingers were numb, and something got dropped off as well that I had to sort out. So and the reason I'm telling you something got dropped off is because that's quite exciting for the channel. That is quite an exciting future something. I'm not saying too much, but if you want to see what that is, make sure you click that subscribe button. But today we're going to get the rest of the exhaust system on. So I think where I left you was I was struggling to get the lambda sensor out the cat. Well, I gave up with that and I bought a brand new Bosch lambda sensor. But I've now got the downpipe on, I've got the sports cat on, I've got the mid silencer on. So all that's left to do is put this new lambda sensor on, put the back box section on, or what will be the back box section. I'm going to fire it up, make sure it's got no leaks, and then put all the under trays, etc. and stuff like that back on. So without further ado, let's get the rest of this exhaust system on my ST. So as you can see, like I said, that's the downpipe. We've got the sports cat here, and then the mid silencer going over the subframe and to put the back box. What we're going to do now is we've got a nice new shiny lambda sensor that's going to go in this side here where the engine management light cheek valve is. So we're going to get that on, and then hopefully we're not too far off getting this exhaust on. So tightened up the 4 bolts in the middle, downpipe to sports cat to mid silencer. I've got the final section here that I'm going to put on. I'm going to put this on, start it up, make sure it's not leaking, then I'm going to put all the under trays and everything back together. Whew, this has been a difficult job. Right, so everything is on the car. We're going to go for a start up. I've got the GoPro behind me. Hopefully we don't have any engine management lights. See how loud it is. I'm going to wait for some lights to go out. Radio off. Listen to that! So it's a bit smoky. I think it's because it is -2, it's a brand new exhaust, so it's going to be burning off all the oils off the exhaust. It's settling down a bit now. Let's give it a bit of a blip. Right, I'm going to jack the car back up, get underneath it and check for leaks, because I think we might have one. So we have got no leaks at all. We are good to go. There's a bit of steam coming off the turbo. I think that's where the WD-40 is burning off. So before it all gets too hot for me to touch, I've switched it off. I'm going to put the tips on the back now. That's the next job, get them tips on. And then I'm going to put the under tray back on, let the turbo cool down. I'll do the turbo heat shield before I put the last thing I do, because I don't want to burn my hands. Let's get these tips. That is us, she runs, she's up, she's running. Now I'm going to do a first drive video, although that's not going to be today, because I've got loads to do today. I've got to get this done, and I've also got another surprise for the YouTube channel, so make sure you press that subscribe button to find out what it is. Next for the ST will be a front mount stage 2 Airtech intercooler with matching boost pipes. That's what's coming next, so if you want to see that as well, make sure you stay tuned. And when we go for a first drive, well, I'm going to go for a first drive in a minute, but I'm going to film a first drive video with the Milltek. Make sure you tune in for that as well. So make sure you press that subscribe button. We're on our road to 1,000 subscribers. Thanks very much for watching. See you on the next one.